I need to share something that's been keeping me up at night. I've been watching the supply chain for 11 months, and what I'm seeing is alarming. It was serious enough that 3 weeks ago, I completely overhauled my pantry. Major distributors are quietly warning retailers about 11 products that are about to become very hard to find. This isn't in the news. Your neighbors probably haven't noticed. But the people moving products from factories to stores know what's coming, and they're preparing. Hit subscribe because I'll be sharing updates from insiders. What made everything click for me was a conversation with a logistics manager for a major Southeast food distributor. He's been in the business 23 years and said the allocation notices he's getting now are worse than early 2020. These are deep production problems, not short-term delays. He showed me internal communications, red flags on items, reduced production, raw material shortages, and transport issues. Then he said something I'll never forget. If you haven't started adjusting your household stock yet, you're already behind. That night, I called every contact I have in production, distribution, and retail. Their message was clear. 11 items need your attention now, not next month. Right now, the first item you need to focus on is canned tomatoes. Every type counts. Diced, crushed, whole, sauce, and paste. Nearly all processing tomatoes in the U.S., around 95%, come from California, and the state is facing the most severe water allocation crisis in its history. This year's water restrictions aren't just temporary. They're permanent structural changes that limit how much water agricultural regions can access. I spoke with a farmer in the Central Valley just 2 weeks ago. His water allocation was slashed by 60%. You can't expect to grow the same volume of tomatoes with barely half the water, so he cut his planting in half. Now imagine that across thousands of farms, tomato production is plummeting. One procurement manager from a major grocery chain told me their tomato orders for the next quarter are only being filled at about 67%. That means for every 100 cans they request, they're actually receiving 67. And it's only getting worse month by month. On top of that, tariffs on imported tomatoes from Mexico are still in effect, making it financially unfeasible for most retailers to rely on outside supplies to make up for California's shortfall. I visited 4 stores last weekend. 3 had noticeably smaller tomato sections, and some varieties were completely gone. Canned tomatoes are the foundation of home cooking. Chili, soups, stews, pasta sauces, pizza sauces, you name it. If you cook at home, you rely on them. I now keep at least 100 cans in my pantry at all times, a mix of diced, crushed, sauce, and paste. It cost me about $80, but I constantly rotate the stock. 6 months ago, a can cost 99 cents. Last week, the same brand was $1.49, a 50% jump. My approach is simple. Whenever I go shopping, I grab 10 cans, spreading purchases across different stores. Be practical, but stay consistent. The second item on your list is real dairy butter. But the shortage isn't happening for the reason most people assume. Many think if butter is scarce, it must be a milk problem, but that's not the case. There's plenty of milk available. The real issue lies in processing capacity and profit priorities. Dairy manufacturers can earn more by selling cream for specialty cheeses, ice cream, or coffee products than by turning it into butter. So when costs rise, butter is often one of the first products they scale back. Labor shortages at processing plants have also slowed production. A regional sales rep told me his company cut butter output by 15% this year while focusing on higher margin items. This is happening across the industry. Butter is one of those products most people don't think to stockpile because it's dairy. But here's a key tip. Butter freezes exceptionally well. You can freeze it for up to a year without any loss of quality. I currently keep about 40 pounds in my freezer. The trick is simple. Buy butter when it's on sale, leave it in the original wrapper, then place the sticks inside a freezer-quality zip-top bag, squeezing out as much air as possible. When you need it, just pull out a stick the night before. It thaws perfectly and my family can't even tell the difference. Butter prices swing dramatically. Last winter, it hit $7 per pound. But I was using butter I had bought in the summer for just $3.50. By planning ahead, you can save a lot and avoid scrambling when prices spike. The third item on your list is pasta. Every shape and brand counts. The reasons behind potential shortages are more complicated than most people realize. It's a perfect storm of challenges. First, the wheat used to make quality pasta, durum wheat, mostly comes from North Dakota and Montana. Last year, severe droughts hit these regions, drastically reducing yields. On top of that, the wheat that did grow had lower protein content. Lower protein means lower quality pasta, which forces manufacturers to use more wheat just to produce the same product. Then there are skyrocketing transportation costs. Shipping expenses have shot up, with one trucking company owner telling me his fuel costs jumped by 42%. Add to that the packaging problem. Shortages of cardboard and adhesives have forced some manufacturers to slow down production lines because they simply don't have enough boxes. Here's how I handle it. I keep about 100 pounds of pasta in my pantry in a mix of shapes. Long pasta like spaghetti and fettuccine, short varieties like penne, rigatoni, and shells, and even small types like orzo and ditalini. Different shapes work better for different sauces and meals, and it keeps meals varied when you're drawing from your stockpile. Storage is straightforward. If you rotate pasta regularly, you can leave it in its original packaging. For longer-term storage, transfer it to airtight containers or food-grade buckets. Pasta can last for years if kept dry. The price increases are real and noticeable. 18 months ago, a pound of name-brand pasta cost around $1.29. Today, it's consistently over $2, with some stores pushing $2.50 per pound, almost double. Buying extra now isn't just about having stock, it's saving against higher prices in the near future. My rule is simple. Grab about 10 boxes each shopping trip, spread across different brands and shapes. The fourth item is cooking oils. Everything counts. Vegetable oil, canola oil, olive oil, you name it. This isn't just a local issue, it's a global problem. Here's what's happening. Sunflower oil, a major component of many vegetable oils, comes largely from Ukraine and Russia. The ongoing war has devastated both production and exports, effectively removing a huge portion of that supply from global markets. Manufacturers have tried to compensate by shifting to other oils like soybean, canola, and palm oil. But here's the catch. Demand for these alternatives was already high, and now they're expected to replace millions of gallons of missing sunflower oil. The system simply can't keep up. Palm oil production in Indonesia and Malaysia is facing setbacks due to labor shortages and weather issues, while Argentina's soybean oil output has been hit hard by drought. On top of that, a lot of these oils are diverted to biofuel production. As fuel prices rise, it becomes more profitable to turn vegetable oils into biodiesel instead of food products. A buyer for a regional grocery chain told me that cooking oil is currently one of the hardest categories to keep stocked. Supplies are being tightly allocated, and prices have gone through the roof. Regular vegetable oil that once sold for $3 per large bottle now costs over $8. Olive oil is even worse. A decent bottle that was $12 is now approaching $25. Here's what I did immediately. I purchased 30 gallons of various cooking oils, 10 gallons of vegetable oil, 10 of canola, 5 of olive, and 5 of coconut oil. That might sound like a lot, but think about how much oil you actually use. Cooking, baking, frying, salad dressings. It's essential in everyday meals. Storage is key. Keep oils in a cool, dark spot, since heat and light speed up rancidity. Vegetable and canola oils can last a year or two, and olive oil around 18 months. I rotate my stock constantly, and whenever I open a new bottle, I immediately replace it. The fifth item is canned fish. Everything counts. Tuna, salmon, sardines, mackerel. The challenges here are both environmental and logistical. Global fish stocks are under serious pressure from overfishing, climate change affecting ocean temperatures, and shifting migration patterns. Fish populations simply aren't what they used to be. Tuna is increasingly regulated, with fishing quotas reduced to prevent stock collapse. Fewer tuna caught means fewer cans on store shelves. Salmon is even more complicated. Wild salmon runs have been declining for years, so most canned salmon now comes from farmed sources. But salmon farming comes with its own set of challenges: disease outbreaks, stricter environmental regulations, and rising feed costs, all of which reduce output or drive prices up. Labor is another major factor. Seafood processing is extremely labor-intensive, and many facilities are located in remote areas that rely heavily on seasonal workers. A manager at one plant told me they're operating at only about 70% of normal capacity because they simply can't find enough staff. I went to 3 stores last week specifically to check canned fish, and all 3 had noticeably reduced selections. Some varieties were completely gone. Prices have also skyrocketed. Canned tuna that used to sell for $1 per can is now $2.50 or more, and wild-caught salmon is pushing $6 a can. Here's why you need to stockpile this. Canned fish is incredibly calorie-dense and packed with protein. 1 can of tuna has around 25 grams of protein, and salmon provides essential omega-3 fatty acids that are critical for health. Best of all, it requires no preparation. Just open the can and eat. In a situation where cooking might be difficult or impossible, canned fish is invaluable. I currently keep about 120 cans of assorted fish in my pantry, mostly tuna, but also salmon, sardines, and mackerel. It cost me roughly $240, but that's 120 ready-to-eat high-protein meals. Storage is easy. Keep the cans in a cool, dry place, and they'll last 3 to 5 years without any problem. The 6th item is peanut butter. This might surprise you. Peanut butter feels so basic and quintessentially American. How could it possibly face a shortage? Let me explain. Peanut production in the U.S. is concentrated in just a few states: Georgia, Alabama, Florida, and Texas. These areas have been hit with increasingly unpredictable weather patterns. Last year, for example, heavy rains during Georgia's harvest season ruined a significant portion of the crop. Peanuts left in wet fields can develop aflatoxin, a toxic mold that makes them unusable for food production. They have to be discarded. So right away, supply drops. But there's more. Peanuts are also used to produce peanut oil, which is in high demand. When peanut oil prices rise, a larger portion of the crop is diverted to oil production rather than peanut butter. On top of that, labor costs at processing plants have surged. A store manager told me that peanut butter from several major brands is now on allocation. They aren't receiving their full orders. Here's why peanut butter is such a critical pantry item. It's incredibly calorie-dense. 2 tablespoons pack about 200 calories and 8 grams of protein. It doesn't require refrigeration even after opening, and it has impressive shelf life. Unopened jars can easily last a year or more, often up to 2 years. On top of that, it's versatile. Eat it straight from the jar, spread it on bread, mix it into oatmeal, use it in sauces, or grab a spoonful for quick energy. During a power outage last year, peanut butter became our go-to food. No cooking needed, high energy, familiar taste. My kids actually looked forward to meals because peanut butter made everything better. I currently keep 40 pounds of peanut butter in my stockpile, a mix of creamy and crunchy, which comes out to about 26 large jars. It cost me around $130. My strategy is simple. Buy extra jars every time you shop, check the dates, and rotate your stock regularly. The 7th item is rice. I know rice is on every prepper list ever made, but hear me out. This situation is different. This isn't about panic buying, it's about real production challenges. India, the world's largest rice exporter, banned exports of several rice varieties last year to protect its domestic food supply. That instantly removed millions of tons from global markets. Other major exporters, Thailand, Vietnam, Pakistan, tried to fill the gap, but they simply don't have enough capacity to replace India's shipments. You might be thinking the US grows plenty of rice, and we do, but even American rice production is under pressure. Water shortages in California and Arkansas, 2 major rice-growing states, are making farming more difficult. On top of that, fertilizer and fuel costs have surged. A rice farmer in Arkansas told me his expenses are up 38% compared to 3 years ago, but the price he receives for his crop hasn't risen at the same rate. The result is noticeable at the store. A 20-pound bag of rice that cost $15 a year ago now often sells for over $22, and premium varieties have doubled in price. Here's my rice strategy. I keep about 300 pounds of rice in a mix of types. White rice for long-term storage. It can last for decades. Brown rice for better nutrition, though it doesn't last as long. Jasmine and basmati to add variety, because eating the same thing every day can really hurt morale. Storage is key. For long-term stockpiling, I use food-grade buckets with gamma seal lids and include oxygen absorbers before sealing. This removes oxygen and prevents bugs, letting white rice last 30 years or more. I rotate my stock consistently and buy rice on every shopping trip, adding a bag or two each time. Prices are not going down, so consistent purchasing is the best strategy. The eighth item is powdered milk. This ties closely to the butter situation, since both are dairy products facing similar pressures. Powdered milk requires extensive processing and a lot of energy to produce. As energy costs have soared, production expenses have skyrocketed, and some manufacturers have cut back because profit margins are too slim. But there's a bigger issue. Global demand for powdered milk is rising, especially from Asia and Africa, pulling supply away from the U.S. domestic market. Many people don't keep powdered milk because they think it tastes bad. And yes, drinking it straight isn't exactly like fresh milk. But here's the key. In cooking and baking, you can't tell the difference at all. In situations where fresh milk is unavailable, powdered milk can literally be a lifesaver. Storage is crucial. Don't leave it in the cardboard box it comes in. Cardboard absorbs moisture, and air will get in, causing your milk to clump and spoil within months. Transfer it immediately to Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers or food-grade buckets with tight lids. Stored this way, powdered milk can last 15 to 20 years. Yes, decades. I currently keep 50 pounds in my stockpile, which cost me around $150. Here's a pro tip. When introducing powdered milk to your family, mix half powdered milk with half fresh milk for drinking. This way, they gradually adjust to the flavor. Then, if you ever need to rely solely on powdered milk, it won't be a jarring change. Use powdered milk in all your cooking and baking too. It works perfectly in pancakes, muffins, cakes, creamy soups, and more. The ninth item is canned beans. Every variety counts. Black beans, kidney beans, pinto beans, chickpeas, white beans, you name it. Bean production takes a lot of water, and drought conditions in key growing areas have cut yields. North Dakota, which produces a large portion of U.S. beans, experienced severe drought last season, meaning less supply made it to market. Processing creates another bottleneck. Canning capacity is limited, and there are only so many facilities available. These plants are already running at full capacity to keep up with demand across multiple product lines. When one product hits a snag, it affects everything else because all products compete for the same canning lines. The aluminum can shortage makes things worse. It impacts all canned goods, including beans. Labor is also a major factor. Bean processing is very labor-intensive, and a procurement specialist told me their orders are only being filled at about 70%. In other words, for every 10 cases they order, they receive just 7. Here's why canned beans are a must-have. They're shelf-stable, protein-packed, and require minimal preparation. Just open the can, heat, and you have a complete meal. They're extremely versatile too. Chili, soups, salads, burritos, rice, and beans. You can make a wide range of meals. Prices have jumped. A can of black beans that sold for 80 cents 2 years ago now costs $1.69 in many stores, and some organic varieties are pushing $3 per can. I currently keep about 200 cans of assorted beans in my pantry, which cost around $280. That's 200 protein-packed meals ready to go. Storage is simple. Keep cans in a cool, dry place, and they'll last 3 to 5 years. My strategy is consistent. Every shopping trip, I grab about 10 cans to gradually build and maintain my stockpile. The 10th item is oats, both rolled oats and instant oats. Oat production is concentrated in certain regions, with Canada supplying a huge percentage of the world's oats and the U.S. growing most of its oats in the upper Midwest. Both areas have faced weather challenges recently, droughts in some places, excessive rain in others, and either can seriously damage the crop. Oats also require precise drying and processing. If the moisture content isn't right, they spoil quickly. Processing plants have struggled with equipment problems and labor shortages, reducing their ability to turn harvested oats into the rolled or instant oats you find on store shelves. On top of that, demand has skyrocketed. Oat milk has become incredibly popular in recent years, pulling a significant portion of oat production away from traditional food products. I've noticed that many store oat sections are less stocked than before, often limited to just a few brands. Prices have climbed too. A large container of rolled oats that used to cost $4 now sells for $6.50 or more. Here's why oats are so important. They're versatile. Oatmeal for breakfast, granola, baking, oat flour if you grind them, or even as a thickener for soups. Nutritionally, they're excellent. High in fiber, decent protein, and they keep you full for hours. In a survival scenario, that sustained energy is critical. For long-term storage, I transfer oats into Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers or food-grade buckets. Stored properly, they can last 10 years or more. I keep about 100 pounds of oats, a mix of rolled and instant varieties. It cost me around $60, but that's hundreds of meals ready to go. The 11th item is coffee. Now, I know some of you are thinking, coffee isn't essential, but hear me out. In a high-stress situation, the psychological impact of a familiar cup of coffee is huge. Beyond morale, coffee is also facing some of the most serious production challenges on this entire list. Coffee grows in a very specific climate band known as the coffee belt, equatorial regions with just the right temperature, rainfall, and altitude. Climate change is hitting these regions hard. Brazil, which produces about a third of the world's coffee, suffered devastating frosts last year that destroyed huge portions of its crop. Frost is rare in coffee-growing areas, but it's happening more often. Vietnam, the second largest producer, has experienced droughts that affected yields, and Colombia has struggled with excessive rain and labor strikes. All of this is combining to reduce global coffee production at a time when demand keeps climbing. Coffee is one of the most traded commodities in the world, and prices fluctuate rapidly. In the last 18 months, wholesale coffee prices have jumped more than 70%. That's not a typo. A standard 12-ounce bag that sold for $8 a year ago now goes for $11, and some premium brands are reaching $15. Here's my coffee strategy, and I take this seriously. I currently keep 60 pounds of coffee in my stockpile, a mix of whole beans and ground, regular and decaf, dark, medium, and light roasts. Building this stock cost me around $400, but with prices climbing, it could easily be worth significantly more in 6 months. Beyond the financial aspect, think about the morale factor. In a crisis, starting your day with a normal cup of coffee provides a small but crucial piece of stability when everything else is chaotic. Storage matters. Keep whole beans in airtight containers in a cool, dark place. For long-term storage, vacuum seal them or use Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. So, there you have it. The 11 items under the most serious supply chain pressure right now. Canned tomatoes, butter, pasta, cooking oils, canned fish, peanut butter, rice, powdered milk, canned beans, oats, and coffee. These aren't random picks. These are the items that industry insiders are actually worried about, based on production data, allocation notices, and supply chain reports most people never see. Here's the key. I'm not telling you to panic. I'm telling you to prepare intelligently. Panic buying clears shelves and creates artificial shortages that hurt everyone. Intelligent preparation means buying a little extra consistently, rotating your stock, and building a buffer to protect your family without harming your community. Here's my challenge to you. Pick 3 items from this list. Just 3. Start there. This week, when you go shopping, grab extra of those 3 items. Next week, add 2 more items to your rotation. Within a month, you'll have begun building real food security for your family. And here's the beauty. Even if nothing bad happens, even if supply chains magically fix themselves tomorrow, you haven't lost anything. You're buying food you would eat anyway, just at today's prices instead of higher prices later. That's not prepping. It's smart financial planning. But let me be honest. The people who really know what's coming aren't waiting. The farmer I spoke with has 6 months of food stored. The logistics manager is building a year's supply. The grocery store procurement specialist said her pantry looks like a small warehouse. These are professionals, not conspiracy theorists. They see what's coming. The question isn't whether you should prepare. The question is whether you will act on the information you now have or wait and hope everything works out. If you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I'm going to keep sharing information the mainstream isn't covering. It could be the difference between your family being comfortable or struggling when things get tight. Drop a comment below and let me know which items you're starting to stock first. Get it now, prepare smart, and protect your family.